The quiet hum of the refrigerator in our small apartment used to be a comforting sound, a backdrop to our lives, a gentle rhythm that underscored our love. I remember how Liam would wake me with a kiss on the forehead, his lips soft, his touch tender. Every morning felt like a promise, a new beginning, a continuation of something beautiful and strong. We built our world brick by brick, dream by dream, our laughter echoing in every room, our plans for the future painted in vivid colors. In our minds, we were inseparable, two souls intertwined, two hearts beating. As one or so, I believe for so long, that was my truth, my absolute reality. The days were filled with simple joys, shared meals, long walks in the park, discussions about everything and nothing at all, a comfortable silence that spoke volumes of our connection. Our bond seemed unbreakable, a fortress against the world and its many storms. I loved him deeply, a love that felt as natural as breathing, as essential as light and air. He was my anchor, my safe harbor, my best friend, my confidant, my everything. Then something shifted subtly, almost imperceptibly. At first, it was like a tiny crack in a perfectly smooth surface, barely visible to the naked eye. But there, nonetheless, our conversations grew shorter. Our evenings became more about parallel activities than shared experiences. He was engrossed in his work. I in mine. The space between us began to widen inch by agonizing inch. The laughter faded, replaced by polite smiles. A certain distance settled in an unspoken wall began to rise between us. I tried to ignore it, to push it away, to convince myself it was just a phase, a temporary lull in the grand symphony of our life together. But the feeling persisted, a gnawing emptiness, a quiet ache in my chest that refused to be silenced. I missed the old us, the effortless connection, the spark that once ignited every moment we spent together. I longed for it, to return to rekindle that flame that had once burned so brightly. But I did not know how to articulate this growing unease, this unspoken sadness I felt trapped in a silence I myself had helped create. It was during this period of quiet desperation that Chloe entered my life. She was a new project manager at work, vibrant, full of life, with a laugh that could light up a room and eyes that seemed to hold a universe of understanding. We started with professional interactions, discussing deadlines and strategies. Then it evolved into something more casual, shared coffee breaks during lunch, a quick chat about our weekends, our lives beyond the office walls. She listened intently to my mundane stories, to my half-hearted complaints about the weather or the traffic. She seemed to truly see me, truly hear me in a way I realized Liam no longer did. Or perhaps I no longer allowed him to. A warmth spread through me whenever she was near, a lightness I had not felt in months and years with Liam. It was a different kind of warmth, a comforting, familiar glow with Chloe. It was an exhilarating flicker, a spark of novelty. Sense of being rediscovered. She made me feel interesting, captivating, alive again. I told myself it was just friendship, a harmless connection, a way to fill the void that had been growing within me, a professional acquaintance. Nothing more, nothing less. But deep down, I knew it was becoming more complicated, more entangled, more dangerous with each passing day, with each shared smile, with each lingering glance. Our conversations began to extend beyond office hours, text messages exchanged late into the night, quick calls filled with a laughter that felt illicit, thrilling, exhilarating. I found myself looking forward to seeing her each morning, my heart fluttering with an anticipation I had long forgotten. I started dressing a little differently. spending more time on my appearance, feeling a renewed sense of confidence, a thrill I had not experienced in what felt like forever. I rationalized it as a harmless ego boost, a much-needed pick-me-up during a stagnant period in my life. I told myself Liam would understand if he knew he would want me to be happy, to feel good about myself. But the very thought of him knowing sent a jolt of fear through me, a cold wave of dread. I was treading on thin ice, walking a tightrope between my two lives, and the tension was slowly but surely building within me, a constant knot in my stomach, a whisper of guilt that followed me everywhere. The first time we touched outside of a professional handshake, it was electric. A fleeting brush of hands as we reached for the same document, a slight lingering of fingers, a warmth that spread through my arm, through my entire body. A silent acknowledgement of something unspoken, something potent, something undeniable. It was just a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity, a world-shattering moment that confirmed what my heart already knew, what my mind had been desperately trying to deny. The line between friendship and something more had blurred, had vanished entirely, and I had allowed it to happen. I had even encouraged it subconsciously, perhaps actively seeking out that thrill, that validation, that escape from the quiet desperation of my life with Liam. After that touch, the dam broke. All my carefully constructed justifications crumbled away. I found myself fantasizing about her, about what it would be like to truly be with her, to experience that kind of connection, that spark, without the weight of guilt or secrecy, or the phantom presence of my long-standing commitment. One evening, after a particularly draining day at work, we decided to grab a drink, just one. I told myself just to unwind. But one drink turned into two, into three, into shared stories and genuine laughter, and a feeling of profound understanding that seemed to wrap around us in a warm embrace. The conversation flowed effortlessly between us, like a river finding its path. The world outside the cozy bar faded away. It was just us two people, lost in the moment, lost in each other. Her hand found mine across the table. A gentle squeeze, a silent invitation, a question in her eyes that mirrored the chaos in my own heart. And in that moment, all my resolve dissolved, all my carefully built walls crumbled down. The temptation was too strong, the pull too powerful, the need for that connection, that excitement, that escape was overwhelming. I knew in that instant that there was no going back, that I had crossed a line I had sworn I would never cross. And yet a strange sense of liberation washed over me amidst the guilt, a fleeting moment of pure, unadulterated joy, that I was finally experiencing something new, something vibrant, something dangerous. We ended up back at her place, the city lights blurring outside the taxi window, a silent agreement passing between us, a shared understanding that needed no words. The air was thick with unspoken desires, with anticipation, with a nervous excitement that made my heart pound against my ribs like a frantic drumbeat. Everything felt surreal, dreamlike, as if I was watching myself from a distance, an observer to my own betrayal. Her apartment was warm, inviting a stark contrast to the growing coldness of my own home. With Liam, her touch was gentle yet firm, exploring, seeking, igniting dormant passions within me, passions I thought had long since died with Liam. It had become a routine, a comforting habit, but with Chloe it was a firestorm, an explosion of senses, A rediscovery of my own body, my own desires, my own capacity for pleasure and connection that night was a blur of sensation, of emotion, of a profound sense of both exhilarating liberation and crushing guilt. With every kiss, with every touch, with every whispered word of affection, I felt myself drifting further and further away from the person I thought I was, from the life I had built, from the promises I had made to Liam. A part of me screamed to stop, to run, to go home, to confess everything, to beg for forgiveness. But another part, a dominant, insistent part, wanted only to drown in the moment, to forget everything else, to simply exist in that intoxicating bubble of forbidden pleasure. The morning after was a harsh awakening. The sunlight streaming through her window felt like a spotlight on my betrayal, illuminating every detail of my deceit. A knot formed in my stomach, a heavy weight of shame and regret. Her eyes met mine, a mixture of tenderness and uncertainty. And I knew in that instant that this was not a one-time mistake. This was a path I had chosen, a road I was now walking, and there was no easy way back. I mumbled some excuse about work, about an early meeting, about needing to go. But the truth was, I needed to escape, to breathe, to process the magnitude of what I had done. The silence in the taxi ride home was deafening, filled with the echoes of my own deceit, my own broken promises. Every familiar street corner, every tree, every building seemed to judge me, to condemn me, to remind me of the beautiful life I was so carelessly dismantling, returning to our apartment, to Liam, to the life I had so carefully constructed. Felt like stepping into a different dimension, distorted reality. He was still asleep, his face peaceful, innocent, unaware of the storm I had unleashed. His presence felt like a physical pain, a constant reminder of my betrayal. I went through the motions of our morning routine, trying to act normal, trying to erase the events of the previous night from my mind. But the image of Chloe, her touch, her smile, her laugh was etched into my memory. A permanent stain on my conscience, a constant shadow. I began to live a double life, a master of deception, a performer. On a stage of lies with Liam, I was the loving partner, the committed girlfriend, the one who always came home with Chloe. I was the passionate lover, the adventurous spirit, the one who sought out excitement and escaped. The two worlds collided constantly in my mind, a chaotic symphony of guilt, desire, and fear. Every lie I told, every secret I kept chipped away at my soul, at my integrity. I found myself constantly on edge, constantly looking over my shoulder, constantly afraid of discovery. The joy I once found in my relationship with Liam was replaced by a hollow emptiness, a facade I maintained for his sake and for my own fragile sense of normalcy. With Chloe, there was an exhilarating thrill, but also a growing sense of unease, a fear that this borrowed happiness, this stolen pleasure, would eventually come crashing down around me. The tension in our apartment grew palpable, a thick, unspoken silence that filled the space between Liam and me. He sensed it. I know he did. The subtle changes, the growing distance, the lack of genuine connection. He tried to bridge the gap, to ask what was wrong, to rekindle what we had. But I pushed him away. Emotionally, physically, emotionally, I was 1,000 miles away, with Chloe consumed by my own selfish desires and the suffocating weight of my secrets. The lies became easier to tell, harder to live with. I developed an intricate web of excuses and alibis for my late nights, for my mysterious phone calls, for my sudden absences. My life became a performance, a carefully crafted illusion designed to protect my secret. But the cost was immense. I was losing myself in the process, losing my sense of right and wrong, losing my ability to truly connect with anyone, even with Chloe. The thrill of the forbidden began to wane, replaced by a pervasive sense of anxiety and dread. I was constantly afraid of being caught, constantly imagining the moment of discovery, the look on Liam's face, the shattered trust, the irreversible damage. I knew it had to end, but I was paralyzed by fear, by indecision, by a strange addiction to the chaos I had created. The inevitable finally happened. It always does. Secrets have a way of surfacing, don't they? A misplaced text message, a subtle scent on my clothes, a stray comment. A friend saw us together at a cafe just talking. She said. But the seed of doubt had been planted in Liam's mind. And once planted, it grew quickly into a monstrous tree of suspicion and hurt. He confronted me, his voice quiet, his eyes filled with an unspeakable pain, a pain I had inflicted, a pain I was responsible for. The carefully constructed wall around my secret world crumbled in an instant, exposing the raw, ugly truth. I tried to deny it at first, to lie one last time, but the words caught in my throat, the weight of my guilt too heavy to bear. I confessed everything, every stolen moment, every whispered lie, every act of betrayal. His reaction was not the explosive anger I had anticipated. Instead, it was a deep, profound sadness, a quiet heartbreak that tore through me more effectively than any shouted accusation. The look in his eyes was one of utter devastation, of disbelief, of a love irrevocably shattered. The aftermath was a blur of tears, accusations, apologies, and an agonizing silence that stretched for days. He packed his bags, his movements slow, deliberate. Each item placed in his suitcase felt like a nail in the coffin of our relationship. He didn't yell, he didn't scream, he just looked at me with a profound sense of loss, a look that conveyed more pain than any words ever could. And then he was gone, the door closing softly behind him, leaving me alone in the apartment, in the deafening silence that was once filled with our laughter, our love, our dreams. The quiet hum of the refrigerator was no longer comforting. It was a mocking reminder of everything I had lost, everything I had destroyed. My world crumbled around me, leaving behind a wreckage of shattered trust and broken promises. I tried to reach out to Chloe after Liam left, but the connection felt different now. Tainted by the messy reality of my broken life, the thrill had vanished, replaced by an awkward unease. The stolen moments now felt hollow, empty. Her presence, once a source of exhilarating escape, now felt like a stark reminder of my betrayal. The reasons I had sought her out now seemed trivial, selfish, superficial compared to the profound loss I was experiencing. I realized then that my pursuit of her was not about love or a deeper connection. It was about me, about my own insecurities, my own desire for validation, my own escape from a reality I was unwilling to confront within my primary relationship. It was a selfish act born of fear and avoidance, and it had cost me everything. Sitting alone in the apartment that once held so much love, so much promise, I was forced to confront the ugly truth of my actions. The infidelity was not just a mistake, a momentary lapse in judgment. It was a symptom of a deeper problem within me, within our relationship, a problem I had chosen to ignore, to run away from, instead of facing it head on. I had chosen the easy path, the selfish path, the path of deceit, and now I was paying the price, a heavy, devastating price. The silence in the apartment was no longer just empty. It was filled with echoes of what once was, with ghosts of our shared past, with the unbearable weight of my own regret. I understood then that healing would be a long, arduous journey. a path paved with self-reflection, self-forgiveness, and a profound commitment to understanding the roots of my own destructive behavior. I had destroyed something beautiful, something precious, and the wound I had inflicted on Liam, on myself, on our shared history, would take a very long time to heal, if it ever truly could. But in that raw moment of absolute despair, a tiny spark of determination ignited within me, a resolve to truly understand myself, to grow to never again inflict such pain on another human being or on myself, a solemn promise to find a way to live with integrity, with honesty, with true self-awareness, even if it meant walking this painful path alone.